Hi everyone, welcome back to Can You Put Me on Guest List. I absolutely loved this week's chat as it was with someone who I've known for a very long time now and who is really inspiring as he's helped change so many people's lives through music. Today my guest is Valentino Barrisoseta. Valentino is the founder of Bridges for Music, a non-profit organisation that gathers key players of the music industry to support its responsible development in developing countries, leaving a positive impact in disadvantaged communities and helping to raise global awareness about local issues through music. Some of the artists that have been involved in the project so far are Richie Hawtin, Luciano, Ed Sheeran, Skrillex, and many, many more. And the first Bridges for Music Academy has just recently opened in a township called Langa in South Africa, which you'll hear all about in this episode.
I felt like the global music industry should know about what was going on in the townships in South Africa and should really, pay attention to it and connect with it. And that's where, the whole idea of setting up Bridges for Music came about. Came back to Ibiza, sat with Ben and with Rich and, told them the idea of maybe, organizing a tour in South Africa and not only doing a few events, but also doing some workshops in the townships with the aim of bridging the social gaps existing in South Africa, between the white and the black communities. And really trying to bring people together through music, and really allowing them to connect with local talent and inspire them with their words, not only with their music.
We talk about when and why Valentino started Bridges for Music, the artists and brands involved in the project, the music scene in Langa, the annual bike ride to ADE to raise money for Bridges for Music, and much more. Remember, if you do enjoy this podcast, please remember to subscribe, share, comment. It really, really does help. Thank you for listening. This is Valentino Barrioseta on Can You Put Me on Guest List. Hi, Valentino.
Hello. How are you, Katie?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great.
Welcome to my home in Ibiza.
Yeah, amazing to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, just wanted to start off by you telling us how you started out in the music industry and your journey up until where you are now.
Okay, well, I think I'm getting older now. It seems like far away.
Everybody gets older.
Yeah, I think my first big interaction with, obviously apart from partying when I was at university and all that, usual stuff.
Yeah.
I think my first big wow moment with music was at Love Parade in 2000 or 1999. And I remember being at university and seeing these amazing videos at Viva Television, of Paul Van Dyke and some other DJs playing at Love Parade. And I told all my flatmates, hey, we have to go there. We're going to hire a van and we're going to drive there in the summer and we're going to check it out ourselves. And so that's what we did. And, just getting to see that massive movement of, love and music in Berlin, it really blew me away and made me think, I want to start in this. I want to do something in this business. And I want to, build my life around music. And, I think a year later, I started a music blog in Spain about clubbing and music and, like DJs. And
what was the blog called?
It was, the equivalent in English would be something like burningthenight.com.
Okay, yeah.
And we had information about all festivals in Spain. I think it was kind of one of the first ones with clubbingspain.com. And that gave me a lot of contacts. I started, getting to know a lot of people, build my network in Spain. And then at some point I thought, it was about time to bring big DJs to Valencia, where I used to go to university, that had never played there, that I really loved, that I wanted to share with my friends. And I partnered up with a good friend of mine, Javi, who you also know. And we built a small kind of music consultancy agency called Night Planning. And, the idea was to bring professionalism to the music industry and start working with clubs and in communication and marketing and all of that. And then an amazing opportunity arose to start running Barraca, which is a legendary club in Spain. It's been open for over 70 years. And they used to have, back in the 80s, used to have New Order and Lou Reed and all these big names. And it was compared with La Hacienda in Manchester. It was a similar kind of music movement around that during La Ruta del Bacalao, you know. And we thought, the club was kind of dying down a little bit, and we thought it could be revived and kind of modernized, and could be an amazing venue to bring all these big artists. So we got an agreement with the owner, and then we started running the club, doing kind of the creative direction and the bookings and all of that. And we had 4 amazing years where pretty much every weekend we had from Richie Hawtin to Sven Beth to Luciano to all of these guys. When they were actually, some of them were starting, some of them were already big names, but we had a programming that was at the level of Fabric in London or Rex in Paris or any of the big clubs around the world. And we put a lot of love into it. We built an amazing team around it, and we made it one of the best clubs in the world. And after that, we started, in the process of that, we started a record label called Barraca Music, which had, releases with Ricardo Villalobos and Luciano and all of these guys. And it also gained a lot of momentum, was, beautiful. We started an artist agency. We started a magazine called La Milk in Spain. So all of that was, really amazing. It was kind of, making our dreams come true, having, an office with all our friends there and a lot of different things running in parallel that we really loved. And then, unfortunately, the crisis hit Spain very badly in 2008. And we had to slowly start shutting down some of the businesses. The magazine wasn't really profitable. We didn't have the capital to face that. And we had some incidents at the club as well, with police controls and, some other issues, that really made... the club was outside of Valencia, so it was a little bit difficult to get there. So we kind of saw, people, stopping coming to the club. It was a little bit, a mix of reasons, but mainly the economical crisis. And, at some point I got an offer from Amnesia to come and help Martin run the club and run first the marketing side and the brand side. So I said, yeah, why not? I always wanted to live in Ibiza for a season or, like a chapter in my life. And, I knew that I didn't want to stay in Valencia for long. And so we, kind of split ways. Javi stayed for a little bit longer working at the club. And then he moved on as well into other adventures. And and then I moved to Ibiza and started working at Amnesia. And, were like 3 amazing years. I really loved it. I had, I made an amazing network. Had a great relationship with Marty and with a lot of other people that still are my friends today. And after a while, I guess like a lot of people, you feel a little bit maybe burned out from the Ibiza scene and a little bit empty. It was a very hectic 3 years where we did amazing things that I'm really proud of. I mean, I brought MTV into the club again to do a series of live concerts with 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg and Primal Scream, which was really, really good. We were trying to bring back to Ibiza live music and obviously doing it with a partner like MTV that could amplify that worldwide. It was all filmed obviously and broadcasted. We brought amazing sponsors and partners to the table, and we launched the Amnesia magazine, which I think was a great success. And we did some really good things. Definitely great work experiences, and obviously, as working in Ibiza is a different ball game altogether. So and I think after 3 years, I felt a little bit as I said, a little bit burned out, and I kind of decided to take a sabbatical year which I didn't end up being a year because I found something to do before the year ended. But I started traveling around the world and, trying to find a way to put my time and my energy into something that could leave a legacy or that could, make an impact in other people's lives, and, where I could be using music and my knowledge to do something, bigger than myself and that has some purpose to it. And I think, like one of the things that we often forget in Ibiza is the real power of music, right? And I felt a little bit detached of, why I started working in this industry, because when you're working here, it's, it can become an office job, or it can become any other business, really, where you're running from, A to B, and you're not really finding any flow, enjoying music anymore, So when I started traveling, I went to Brazil, and I went into one of the favelas in Rio de Janeiro, Rocinha, which I really highly recommend to visit. And there was this tour guide that brought me into the favela that was running a DJ school. And he was telling me how much he was saving money to buy a new mixer. And, he was doing such a great job. I saw the kids, they're so driven and motivated, through music. And I thought, what a shame, that this guy that is doing such a good work for his community is struggling to buy a new mixer. Meanwhile, at Amnesia or any club in Ibiza, we get, free equipment from all the brands because they want to showcase it, right? So that made me realize, that sometimes the problem is that these amazing community leaders don't have the connections with the industry, and that's where the name Bridges for Music came about. And so I arranged some equipment. I called, my friends at Pioneer DJ and said, hey, this is this guy, he's doing an amazing job here in Rio, and would you mind sending him some equipment? And obviously they did it, very, very happily. And the guy was blown away. Obviously, imagine, this guy in the favela in Rio, like getting this equipment. And he was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And, when you think about it, it's the least that this company should be doing, right? I mean, it doesn't cost them that much. And it's a great story. And, the guy is just, doing amazing things. So that was the beginning of it, and it didn't really solidify in my mind as what it ended up being. But then I went to South Africa, also kind of on holidays and just exploring, and I landed in a community called Langa, a township outside of Cape Town. And again, I was really blown away by the music culture, by seeing young kids listening to house music. I met Black Coffee back then, who back then he was already, big in South Africa, but not so known internationally. And it was very funny, because it was really surprising to see how even like 10-year-old kids, were jumping on him and were really looking up to him, which is, I don't think it's something that happens necessarily in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? You don't see like 10, 12-year-old kids looking up to Richie Hawtin.
No, yeah, of course.
That's maybe when you are 18 or 20 or whatever, and you start going to festivals. So that was really, really interesting to witness, and that and discovering the local scene, made me think that surely any of these artists that I had made, friendship with would love to explore that as well, and would be as inspired as I was. And I felt like the global music industry should know about what was going on in the townships in South Africa, and should really, pay attention to it and connect with it. And that's where, the whole idea of setting up Bridges for Music came about. Came back to Ibiza, sat with Ben and with Rich, and, told them the idea of maybe, organizing a tour in South Africa, and not only doing a few events, but also doing some workshops in the townships with the aim of bridging the social gaps existing in South Africa, between the white and the black communities, and really trying to bring people together through music, and really allowing them to connect with local talent and inspire them with their words, not only with their music. So we did that. We founded Bridges for Music with the help of other board members.
What year was this? Sorry, that was
founded? That was 2012.
2012.
Yeah, 2012, and we founded the organization with the help of other people in the music industry. And then we organized the first tours with Rich first. Then we had Luciano. Then we had Tale of Us, Loco Dice.
And they toured South Africa.
Yeah, so we basically organized the tour. Sometimes we partner with local promoters, and we find shows together, or we co-promote the shows with the aim of raising funds. Then the funds that we raised, we reinvested into scholarships for underprivileged artists from these communities. So we had in the past almost 20 artists that we have sponsored to play in big festivals around the world, like Tomorrowland and Glastonbury and ADE. And then we also have a scholarship program where we support artists from these communities to study sound engineering courses, music production, and different variety of courses at SAE in Cape Town, which is a big creative media school. And we kept doing that, and really trying to harness the power that all these big artists have to bring positive change to these communities, and a lot of inspiration. It was very funny actually for example, with Luciano. I remember one moment where he was planning to come down, and he wanted to obviously play for free and do his shows in the townships, and we were getting some serious offers from local promoters to do like commercial shows. And obviously had to tell Luci, that, hey, like we have this offer. Do you want to take any of these offers to play a commercial gig? And he said, no, I want to play in the townships. I would play for free, but I play in the townships, and whoever wants to come and see me has to come into these communities. That's the whole point.
Wow, yeah.
So that's what we did. We did one show in Langa in Cape Town and one in Soweto in Johannesburg, with other artists that are now actually making waves globally, like Temba and and some other guys. And it was really, really inspiring. There are many anecdotes that have been really inspiring, really amazing. The first show that we did with Richie Hawtin, for example, in Soweto with Black Coffee and a lot of these guys as well. And I remember when Rich was about to play right after Black Coffee, and you can imagine in these communities, Black Coffee is pretty known. I mean, he's a hero, right? And Richie Hawtin is not necessarily that known among Black people in South Africa, right? It's a completely different market. And I remember he was telling me before his show that he felt quite nervous. He felt like the first time he was playing in Detroit, when he was a young boy from Canada, just crossing the board and playing in front of Jeff Miles and Juan Atkins and all the godfathers of techno, and they were looking at him like this white kid that is coming over to play techno. He's like, I'm feeling kind of the same, like I'm like, I don't really know what to play, I mean, and he ended up playing amazing, and it's incredible to see a few of the white people that had come from town, and the local people in the community, really dancing together and mixing, and that's what music is about, right?
What has been some of their reactions, like for some of these artists that have come to the townships for the first times, like Richie or Luciano? How did they react when they got to the township, to Langa, for example?
Yeah, I always say I think they get as much as they give. Yeah. They leave very inspired. There's a lot of things to learn from South African music, from South African culture. And I think it's very inspiring for them to get out of their comfort zone and discover something they never imagined. And I think they all, always from a place of respect and, super humble. Yeah. But they're really inspired. They always leave, I mean, I remember Rich saying at a conference we did at Sonar, a panel that we did at Sonar about the organization, saying it was one of the proudest moments in his career. And I think it's been like that for most of them. Yeah.
Most of the artists that have been like from the dance music or electronic music scene. But you did have Ed Sheeran the other day do How was that?
I mean, that was incredible.
It was incredible. I can imagine.
You can imagine obviously the size of the artist, it's not comparable with any DJ, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's probably one of the biggest pop stars in the world. And the funny thing is actually he came to play, like to do the workshop, literally 4 hours before he went on stage at his sold out stadium show in Cape Town, 50,000 people, right? And he's the first artist in the history of South Africa that has sold out 2 stadium shows in a row, 2 days in a row. Like 50,000 people twice.
That's crazy.
Incredible, like not even, Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga. No one has done it before. So that gives you an idea of the size of him. But he's such a humble and, respectful and inspiring guy as well. He's super sharp. He was there, super chilled, and I was like, Jesus, I was speaking with the manager and it's like, isn't he nervous? Like, he needs to go on stage. Like, I would be freaking out in my hotel room, And the guy is here, engaging with everyone, chilling, super, approachable. And he was really, really inspiring, in his talk as well. Like, you realize why these guys are where they are. It's not a coincidence, And when you see him perform live, and how he entertains a whole stadium for 2 hours just with his guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He doesn't have dancers. He doesn't have fireworks.
So
he doesn't
just
have anything.
Him, basically.
Just him. He doesn't even have a band.
Wow, it's incredible.
It's him with a loop pedal, just performing, building all the tracks by himself for 2 hours. It's insane. I mean,
How do these collaborations come about with these artists? Do they contact you, or do you contact them, or how does it work?
It depends on the artist. Like, for example, with all the first artists that came on tour, it came from my personal friendship with them and my relationship with them or their managers. In the case of Rich and, Skrillex and Luciano, some of our board members connect us sometimes. In the case of Skrillex, for example, came thanks to a connection from Ben. And then with Ed Sheeran, actually, came through one of the co-founders of Nando's, who has become one of our biggest supporters in South Africa.
I know, I saw that the other day. Yeah.
So Nando's is a South African company, which a lot of people don't know.
I did not know. I thought it was from England. Actually.
Yeah, it's massive in the UK, obviously. They have over 1,000 restaurants in 28 countries now, so they've grown really. I mean, it's one of the most successful brands in South Africa. And the co-founder is an amazing human being. Has been super supportive. Him and the company itself, and they're really into music and art. And apparently, Ed Sheeran happened to play when he was not so famous in one of the Nando's stores in the UK. So they became friends, and then they maintained a personal relationship. And then when we saw that he was touring in South Africa, he reached out to Ed Sheeran. Robbie is the name of Nando's co-founder, and he said, "Hey, we are involved in this project in Langa. Would you be keen on coming by and sharing your journey with the kids?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it."
Oh,
it was pretty.
How nice.
It was pretty simple, actually.
Yeah.
It was actually way easier than working with a lot of DJs, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, way easier. And the manager is amazing. The whole team, they're
I
so
bet the kids
easygoing.
loved it.
Yeah, and also because he's very appealing to both the white and the black markets in South
Yeah.
Africa. His music has really crossed over in a way that no one else has done, probably. I mean, maybe Black Coffee as well. But yeah, I mean, you can imagine, from a media point of view, and from, we had to keep it super off the radar, and just
really?
literally word to mouth, private link online to RSVP, and very small and intimate, because otherwise it can get out of control, and all of a sudden you have 500 people outside.
These 50,000 people that go to the concert in the township.
And all the groupies wanting a picture, and when we do these workshops, we really want the right people there, music industry people or upcoming artists that can really be inspired and get something out of it.
Yeah. So I know you've done a lot of, there's been loads of different projects to raise money for Bridges for Music, but what have been some of the main ones that you've done?
I mean, by far, the Cycle to 80 that Resident Advisor did, I mean, that raised £102,000,
wow,
which was amazing. And that was the capital that we used to build a school in South Africa. And, I mean, they were amazing. They really took this project as their own, kind of charity drive for the company. And, they had a lot of people in the team doing the cycle themselves, and going on trainings. And
where did the cycle leave from?
London to 80, to Amsterdam.
How long did it take?
4 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
I bet that was fun, though.
That was super fun, yeah. And the weather was gentle, which, makes a difference. And, just the vibe in the group, was insane. We had 30 people. RA covered, most of the cost, all the costs. So absolutely every single donation went to the project. And, we had some good friends like, Uner and Chris Liebing and Midland and all this guy involved. Yeah. And it was super fun. It was super fun. Also because you see all the people training, leading up to the event, people start training maybe 2 months before, 3 months before. And, the momentum keeps growing and excitement. And, then obviously all the challenges you face, along the way, and obviously seeing the fundraising success was incredible.
Did you all ride together, or did you kind of do it in groups?
No, we did 3 groups.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously not everyone's fitness was the same.
Yeah.
So you don't want to bore the super fit and push to match the non so fit. So we did 3 different groups with 3 different tour guides, and yeah, it was great. I think everyone had a lot of fun. Everyone arrived in one piece, which is the most important.
Everyone made it, good.
Yeah, everyone made it. And then last year we did the Cycle to 80 from Berlin, which was really cool. And next year we're going to do it probably from Paris. We are still deciding, but if there's anyone out there that wants to sign up.
Can anybody sign up?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, maybe you should do it.
Oh, I'm not very good on a bike, but I've got time to train, I guess. Is this October?
Yeah. Trust me, there's a lot of people that are not good on bikes and have done it. That were way unfitter than you. That
really?
Can tell you that. Yeah.
Maybe I'll give it a go. I'll have a think. What other projects have you done?
Other projects. I mean, we have some fundraising gala dinners that we do with festivals. We try, for example, to piggyback on festivals like Ultra in South Africa, and we organize like a gala dinner on the back of the festival with all the headliners. That's been our biggest fundraising event in South Africa. We do also charity auction with IMS here in Ibiza every year for the past 4 years. And, and then different smaller fundraisers, really anyone can really join and support the project by, throwing a party and raising some money, like everything counts. We have a very, very important partnership now with Pioneer DJ, who has been very, very supportive in the last 4 or 5 years, supporting where they could. with gear and supporting some of our events, sponsoring some of the events. But very recently, actually, like literally 2 weeks ago, we landed a global partnership with them where they're going to be sponsoring the main recording studio at the school, and they're going to be sponsoring some of the students going through the program, and they're going to be sponsoring the cycle to ADE as well. So they're really getting behind the project, and obviously that's a game changer for Bridges for Music and for the school in South Africa. And the aim is to make the school in South Africa the main hub for Pioneer DJ. So we're gonna have the latest equipment there. We're gonna be running tutorials for local artists and workshops and creating some content. So yeah, it's gonna be very exciting.
That actually was my next question, to talk a little bit about the school. Because when did it open? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
We just opened. We are launching the first program, which is going to be basically, we have two programs. One is a after school program with courses on yoga, DJing, music production, and photography. And those courses are going to be running in the afternoons for kids that are still going through high school, aged 12 to 18. And then we have a main program that is a 6-month course on music and entrepreneurship. So basically 50% of the time they're studying life skills or entrepreneurial skills, and 50% of the time they're studying music production and sound engineering and so on. So that is going to probably launch February 2020. And there will be some slots available for anyone around the world that wants to join.
So it doesn't have to be just people from Langa?
No,
South
because,
Africa.
We believe that the quality of the education we're offering is really appealing to anyone. The thing is that we believe the future of education is peer-to-peer, and we want to create a classroom where people from the communities in South Africa share the learning experience and the journey with international people that are coming together through music.
So the teachers are from South Africa, from Langa?
Well, yes and no. I mean, we will have also a lot of, friends from the organization, a lot of industry leaders that are coming and teaching certain subjects. I mean, you might come and teach, how to build a podcast or how to interview or, journalism or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So we believe that the future of education, apart from being peer-to-peer, is industry-led. So it means like, a lot of people say how schools should be industry-led. Like run by people that can tell from their own experience, that can inspire their kids, that can really resonate with the students. And, instead of going to university and, listening to a guy that's talking about business, has never been in a company before, right?
Yeah.
Which is the case in many universities. So I think one of the powerful things of this school is that there's so many, industry people involved, from the people working at RA, Pioneer DJ, festivals, you name it, that it's all about us sharing the knowledge, and that is the platform that we've created there. So when we say that we aim at having, international students coming, the goal of that is that they pay normal fees to subsidize a local student. So you know that by paying your fee, you're subsidizing a local student, and with that we will cover the running cost of the school. So, and also, we believe that there's no other school around the world that really offers this level of workshops and talent, where in the world you're going to have a workshop with Ed Sheeran, and then a month ago we had Bonobo, and then, all the other artists that have been through, and
it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, and on top of that, you might have one with the, Beatport CEO, or with, Pioneer DJ's marketing manager, or whatever it is. That is a quality of education that you won't find anywhere else, and that's why we think it's going to be very exciting for anyone around the world to come and join the course.
Yeah. What's the dance music scene like in Langa?
It's mainly house music. I mean, house music is massive. There's a very known artist that I'm very, very happy to count as one of our main team members from day one, called Foster, and he's the current operations manager at the school. And there's amazing talent there. The problem is they don't really have the platforms and the outlets to develop the talent. Like access to internet is scarce, access to recording studio is pretty much non-existing. There's a lot of other problems happening in the streets, that can attract the youth, like gangs and all that sort of thing. Hip hop is pretty big as well. There's a lot of South African hip hop artists that are also like rock stars, absolutely massive. So I would say hip hop and house music are the main genres there, and obviously jazz music for the older people, although it's kind of losing a little bit the following, because obviously generations pass, and jazz music, I think it's one of the things that we want to do there as well. You know, like bring together the new age genres with the old traditional genres like jazz music, which you know has always been really big in South Africa in general, in the townships.
You do spend a lot of time over there then?
Yeah, it's been pretty much every day, apart from when I'm over here for any fundraising campaign or anything. I'm based in Cape Town.
You're based over there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So obviously the objective of Bridges for Music is to create a positive impact in disadvantaged communities and to raise global awareness about local issues. Do you think that people are a lot more aware now, and as time goes on, it is getting better?
I think there is a paradigm shift in human consciousness.
Yeah.
And there is definitely, you know, I hope that is a movement of awakening happening. And there's a lot of people, you know, especially DJs that are getting a little bit older, that are really realizing, you know, that there's more, you know, beyond the party, and that, you know, they have a responsibility and an opportunity as artists to really make something for the world, you know, whether it's supporting a project like ours on education, or whether it's, you know, fighting climate change, or whether it's, you know, whatever you feel passionate about, you know. But I do think there is a slight change, and I hope that's only going to grow. We have seen conferences like IMS, for example, putting a strong focus on mental health. Yeah. And, you know, that, you know, it's been a big conversation this year, and there's a reason for that. You know, I think we are realizing that the industry, as a lot of people understood it, is not sustainable, shallow at times, and that we really need to focus on the right things and the right values to make it, you know, long-term sustainable, really.
No, I agree. I think in the last couple of years, there's definitely been a change, especially when it's stuff about the environment and all of these projects now about plastic and as you just said, mental health as well. There's definitely a change, and it's getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, I think, you know, still we're doing very little.
Yeah, there's still a lot to do.
There's still a lot to do. There's always things to do. Yeah. And, you know, you see other artists like, you know, Blondish, you know, doing the campaign for cleaning the beaches and plastic. But it's just like drops in the ocean, you know, like I feel like, you know, like, for example, you look at companies in the States, there's this kind of rule, or not rule, but, you know, unofficial rule that they spend 4% of their, you know, profit into social responsibility, into social campaigns. I mean, if every single DJ would do that, for example, it would be a different story, true. Right? And I don't know. I think, you know, it's proven difficult in a way for artists to get involved in social campaigns. There are other artists that are, you know, very, very committed and, you know, very supportive, but there's still a lot of work to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what are the next projects for Bridges for Music? What's coming up this year?
Our main focus is right now launching the school in South Africa. That's, you know, takes a lot of our bandwidth. And the Cycle to ADE in October, big event. We're planning some events in the States as well. And just like focusing on growing the community, growing the movement, and trying to raise more money because we need it. So if you're listening and you want to support, you can go on our website. You can go on our Just Giving page, justgiving.com/bridgesformusic.
And you can get training for the bike ride.
Exactly. And you can sign up you can either donate, sign up for our fundraisers, throw parties, contact us, and just support in whatever way you want.
Perfect. Valentino, thank you so much. And well, you know how much I've always loved Bridges for Music and supported. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. Join the cycle.
Yes. I better start training.
Yeah, you're fit.
Yeah. I'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you.